Cool. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. We're here on the TLDR by Jolly SEO. We've got Nick Musica here from Optics In. And Nick, you have experience on a side I don't, working more technically. And we're here today to talk about how should a small business approach SEO versus a big business? What are the differences? What could we emulate as smaller businesses? These kind of things. So thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just going to jump right in. It's a big first question, but you sound like you've got your head wrapped around this. So how do SEO practices usually differ between small and big businesses?
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference that I see, having worked at bigger companies like Esurance, Rocket Lawyer, and even a local publisher here in town in San Diego, and working with my client base, which is pretty much small and medium-sized businesses, is bigger businesses tend to have a process. They know what they're doing, who's doing it, and how to get it done, right? And also the technology to support it. So to break that down, you have the people, you have the process, and you have the tech. So the people, an example here, at a bigger business, you see it in job recs all the time. We're looking for person X to do 10 things, right? It's very clear. Whether that happens in real life, who knows? But the intention is certainly there. And with smaller businesses, it's a little more, where do we have a head? Where do we have a warm body who possibly can do the thing we're talking about, right? So it could be a little willy-nilly. And if that person gets tasked with it this week and then they're out next week, or they get busy with something next week, it may get transferred over to Jimmy, where Jane was the person who was originally doing the work, right? So it may change hands, and that inconsistency does not help build momentum. So going back to just to underscore the point here, like, big businesses are very good at who they're hiring for, the salary band, and what they're going to do. But it takes forever, right? So that's the negative. Like, it's turning a big cruise ship. A smaller business just has to be intentional about it and say, Jane, your new focus is X, or 50% of your focus is X, and then manage that expectation. So that's one, the people. The second is going to go ahead.
No, I think I'm jumping the gun here. I might have been about to answer this.
Okay. The second I would say is the process. So how do we do things? I was recently talking to a client who had, among other things wrong with their website, we'll say 20 images that were over a meg in size, which is very large, right? So there's 1,000 kilobytes in a meg. And there was like one image was 3.9 megs. So, right, just do the math. It was enormous. And if our goal is 100 kbs for a hero image, give or take, and we exceed that 20 times in the megs, we're essentially slowing our site down, and that's just one of 100 things that are going on the website, right? So the conversation I had with this gentleman was, well, we can fix these, but we need to talk about how they may have gotten here. And if we don't have SOPs, standard operating procedures, around how we got here, all we're going to do is have this conversation in another 6 or 12 months. So let's fix the problem today, create a one-pager around when you publish images. Here's what you do. Here's where you go find them. Here's how you size them physically. Here's how you size them file-wise. Here's how you upload. That it's a 5-step process. It takes 20 minutes if you're very slow doing it, right?
You answered my question before I could ask it. So we're at Jolly SEO. We do not do what you do, right? We focus on link building, but internally, our own processes, it's almost the same story, but in the business sense. We resisted for years documenting, having standardized processes, and now people can see the light. We've been putting a year of effort into these, and we're like, this way we have a uniform result every time, instead of wondering, how did we get here when things are breaking down?
Yes, and having worked at places where I've lovingly onboarded people, there's a cycle where that job is good for them and they're good for the company, and the company is good for them. At some point they leave, right? So it's average 2 years that someone's with the company, give or take. So if that person were to leave tomorrow, and they get wicked efficient over a 2-year period, and now your job is to hire someone to replace them, if you don't have SOPs, you're setting that new person up for failure.
That's right. Yeah. So we're kind of answering the next question, but in case we missed anything, what are there any other benefits why small businesses should consider mimicking the practices of bigger businesses? I mean, the benefit of having repeatable processes that are documented, it's it's impossible to overstate, even though when you hear it as a small business owner, I feel like it's easy to write it off and say like, that's nice if you have time to do that.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
guess, are there any others we should say that a small business owner shouldn't write off?
I would go with one more item, which would be the third item on the list here, which is the tech to support the people in the process. Right. So we can well, let's go completely analog. Right. And back in the day, this is how it was. I have a memo to from what's the subject and what it's about. Right. You drop that on someone's desk. This was a very long time ago. And then we had email, and that was, oh my God, amazing. And now we have Slack, and now we have text, and now we have you name the thing. But there's so many ways we can miscommunicate these days. So having uh, a system within the system to have technology to support it, and one of the things that I press on all the time is Asana or Monday. You choose your project management system. Um, but if it, in my world, if it doesn't exist in Asana, it doesn't exist. I don't care if it's in Slack. I don't care if it's an email. Those are wonderful places for things to get lost. But my source of truth is to go into Asana. And so to address the small business owner's concern, and I'm a small business, I'm a sole proprietor with an army of 1099s, and I pick my folks based on the projects, and I train them on my systems. And if they're the best writer, if they're the best tech, if they're the best designer in the world, and if they can't adapt to the process of Asana, I can't work with them. And the reason for that is efficiencies. If I need to double check the work and I need to search through email for that message you sent or the text or the Slack, I'm spending way too much time and getting frustrated doing that. And I want to go to Asana, go to the project, find who's assigned to what, and go from there. And that takes 5 minutes. Setting it up may take longer, but when you get into the rhythm, now we're at 5 minutes. You log in, you log out, and we're done.
Yeah, yeah, it's upfront heavy lifting.
Yeah.
We've talked about process, tech, people. I'm thinking now about SEO specifically. Like, how do big businesses approach keyword research or on-page or technical? And maybe we don't need to dive into all three, but maybe you could pick one topic and let's think about like the differences in tactics you usually see.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, well, I'll answer the question from two perspectives. One is the intention and the management of, and then we get into the specific tactic, because the intention and the management of applies to everything we're going to talk about. Right. So for keyword research, for example, if I were to start a new insurance company today, I would go to my favorite SEO tool, be it SEMrush, be it Ahrefs, be it SpyFu. If you're more of a enterprise, we're talking about Bright Edge, we're talking about Conductor, one of those tools. But I'm going to go to my favorite tool. I'm going to grab the competitors in my space off the top of my head: Geico, Progressive, Esurance, Allstate, State Farm, whoever it may be. And that's going to be my starting point for dumping my competitors into those tools, seeing what they rank for, and then pick and choose the topics that I want to start to rank for. You'll start to see the competition level, and take it with a grain of salt. You'll start to see the keywords, and there's going to be duplication. There's going to be car insurance and there's going to be auto insurance. It's the same term largely, so we don't want slash car insurance slash auto insurance. We should use them in context. But when we're looking at those competitors, we're starting to understand the keywords that are common across all of them. And then we can start to download all those keywords which have zero context. So now our challenge is to apply context, our domain subject matter expertise, to those keywords, and start to create creative briefs, start to imagine where they're going to fit in the hierarchy of this brand new website that we're talking about, use Asana or something similar to start to schedule them out over weeks, over months, over quarters. And that's the process that big businesses can bring in to small businesses. They do the planning. There's a 3 to 5 year plan. There's an annual plan. It's broken down to quarters. That's broken down to months. That's broken down to weeks, right? Which is very different than how most small businesses work. They may go, we're going to hit SEO really hard this week. And then fast forward to this time next year. Well, we hit it really hard that 1 week, remember? Right. And the difference is big business, while they may hit it hard, if they're going to hit it hard, they may hit it hard for a quarter and then do something that's sustainable. But what they're doing, any way you slice it, is they're doing something consistently over time. And that's going to drive the results faster. So to break it down in a random metaphor that's coming to mind, you can lift a pound every day for the year, or you can lift 100 pounds today and then be done with it. You're going to get more out of that, lifting that 100 pounds every day for the year.
Right. Yeah. We focus on link building, and we'll segue there in a sec, but it's in everything we do, right? It's the same consistency. People will ask us, what would be better if you guys do 20 links for us today, or we spread them out over 6 months? And we're like, actually doing 20 links today, to go back to your 100-pound analogy, you're going to hurt yourself. You can't go from 0 to 100. It's going to be painful, and it's not good in Google's eyes either. So
right.
better to start small and be consistent.
Totally.
So the small business owner who's listening, maybe like you said, there's different tools for different tiers. Those happen to align with budgets too. What are some things a small business owner could hope to achieve on a limited budget? Let's say they can't outsource every single step to a professional.
Yeah. So in those cases, I would first say, I'd first question, is SEO or whatever it is that we're talking about, is it worth the time and energy? Because there's nothing that's a one and done. There's no setting up email and then we're done. There's no setting up paid and we're done. There's no setting up SEO and we're done. It just doesn't exist. That's not how that works. And if that's the case, then you're going to say email doesn't work for me, pay doesn't work for me, SEO doesn't work for me. Right? I've heard it more. We've tried it. It doesn't work. Well, tell me about what you did. Well, we hired this guy. He told us to write a lot of blog posts. It didn't work. Oh, well, let me take a look at your website. Technical issues, right? Like, well, you were just working with the wrong person, right? So you need to know. Here's the benefit of a bigger company is you happen to hire an expert, be it internal or external. And if you can't hire that expert, you need to grow that expert in some way. So send them to a conference, have them take a class, a reputable class, something, and don't say go to Google, go to YouTube. Don't do that. That you're setting them up for failure. They're gonna, at worst or at best, they're gonna be somewhat informed, and at worst, they're gonna think their partial education now makes them an expert. And now we just told Jim or Jane that you're an expert, and they watched a 30-minute YouTube video. Like, it's just not happening.
The Dunning-Kruger, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen that? Or like, as
No.
you get your first little bit of knowledge, your confidence skyrockets, and then you get to intermediate level knowledge and you realize, oh, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And then maybe as you get to be a pro, you start to regain your confidence. But
yeah,
that initial bump, it's a little misleading.
Yeah, and there's a very well-known SEO guy in the space. He's been doing this since forever. And I remember watching him speak, and someone asked him a question, and he was just like, because you don't know, you can't wage $1 on Google each and every time. Will they do this or will they do that? Well, what they're looking for is this. They're looking for original content. They're looking for authors with experience. They're looking for EAT, right? For lack of a better framework. But I bet you and I can go to Google right now and go, auto-generated crap content from a database. I can pull one up right now from a very well-known website, and it shouldn't rank, but it does rank. Right. So going back to the original question, which is, if you can't afford to hire someone, do something right consistently. I don't care if it's half a pound, going back to that metaphor. If it's half a pound, and really you should be doing 5 pounds a day, just keep on doing something, because what's going to happen is something's going to catch fire. And this is what happened at eSurance. This is why I got the job at eSurance years ago, was someone was having a meeting and they saw a blip in traffic, and they saw the conversions, the policies tied to the blip in traffic. And they're like, what's that? Oh, that's SEO traffic. Well, let's buy more of that. Oh, you don't do that. You don't buy more of this. Well, what do you mean? Now here's the education. The education just started. And now let's go get someone. And so that's how that happened at Esurance when I was there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So then, okay, they notice the blip in traffic. Maybe this happens beforehand, but now we head into a little bit of the conversation that's my specialty. I'm excited to hear your side of it because we work with enterprise clients, we work with small businesses everywhere in between, but I haven't been in-house. I've never been the consultant on the other side of the table. How do big businesses strategize their link building campaigns? What is it for them they're deciding, they're thinking about as they're planning this certain small bit of their SEO budget, their campaign?
Yeah. So when I was working at bigger businesses, we didn't need to a lot. Like Esurance, there's Aaron Esurance, and there was this was a long time ago, and they spent a whole lot of money on ads, and they spent a whole lot of money on affiliate, and they just had a budget, and by proxy, they were doing a passive link campaign essentially. People would just link to them. You have a funny commercial, people link to you. They
When you
had
have
something
brand, yeah.
that's and yeah, and that's the headline. When you have a brand, you probably don't, right? So because I mean from the first, there's from my perspective, and I'd love to hear yours. There's two versions of link building. There is build authority, and that's a very muddy phrase. And then there's um, topical by page ranking, right? So build authority, like get this site well known for something. Get good links from places, Yahoo Finance, Forbes, wherever those big sites, you know, those household names. Get some links coming in. Get part of the news cycle. Once you do that, you have topical authority. You have authority. From then you have a keyword you want to target, and so now we have a campaign strategy. It's almost like going back to car insurance. We sell car insurance. Wow, like do the direct mail, do the commercials, everything about you can save on car insurance. But when you have something very specific about a campaign and how you can bundle, now we're doing a bundle campaign. It's not about car insurance anymore. It's about a very specific way about buying car insurance. And that what that's going to do is, well, we're going to take a look at the website. We're going to have a bundling page or two on the website. Is it about home and cars, about renters and car? We have to choose. And then we're going to go find our targets to talk about home and car, renters and car. It may be a this or that or a yes and conversation. And then we're going to have those targets, get those outbound communications to those folks, and try to get those inbound links so that we don't just have the website ranking well for random things where we were able to surpass our competition, but now we're zeroing in on very specific areas of the website where we want to raise the visibility via links, and we're probably going to have to adjust our website a little bit in terms of inbound links and the language that we use.
Yeah, we do both. We do EAT centered, like branded anchor text to homepage and these big publications, right? There was a great talk at MozCon we were just at by someone named Miracle, and she was talking about branded search and really expanded the way I think about it. She was like, branded search isn't just your brand name, it's your brand name plus product. You can create brand around your product. So that helped me think about that. And then, as you said, you got to drill deeper a lot of times in these very competitive niches. I mean, driving branded search, I think this is where we lean in. We feel it's going to be increasingly important in the coming years, but also there's no denying if you're not building links to your actual pages, whether it's the product page or it's a heavy resource that's you got internal linking to your product pages, that's, let's just say you're missing opportunities there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I have a client who ranks for best thing, right? So it doesn't matter what the thing is. I'm not going to give the thing away.
No, you don't want to
But
tell us the URL. You don't want to start
uh,
a little negative campaign here. Yeah,
but they rank,
it's such a secretive industry, but for good reason, right? You don't
yeah,
need
for
to
sure.
share all that.
For sure. Yeah. And so they rank for best thing. And they're like, we want to rank #1 for best thing. I'm like, well, let's take a look at that. Okay, well, we have a bunch of products at the top. We have paid ads now. We have Amazon, Walmart. There was another big site, and then we have your site. I mean, we're not even looking for your name, but you're ranking for best thing. So somewhere, someone is saying the best thing is this brand or this brand's thing. Like, it's got to be in there somewhere, and like those pieces have to be put together, because there's no one else on that page that's one worth talking about from a product creation perspective. There's no brand, other than Walmart, like the big box store, shall we say, but not a specific brand. So you guys are doing really, really well. So
Yeah, they're
someone is,
killing it.
and they're like, how do we do better at SEO? I'm like, okay, so we have some tidying up to do, but like, let's, maybe this conversation is more interesting. Let's see if that's even interesting for you guys. Cause like, I can't say yes to move you from #3 to #1. That's not going to work. There's Amazon and Walmart there. Like, that's not, that's
That's where
no,
it's time to think about what kind of product do you wish you were selling more of that you could easily get into the top 10 or top 5 that you're not
totally,
currently, you know? So
totally. Yeah.
okay, well, I'm not here to consult. That's really your business. I shouldn't be talking about that. But what are, you know, I think we talked about SOPs, something that I think a lot of small business owners maybe are even like hesitant to do. Here's another term that for us early on, we were like, what? KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. So obviously we all want to see more sales, more money. But what are some SEO specific KPIs that a small business owner could start to incorporate when they're planning campaigns to see, am I on the right track towards success?
Yeah, right. And that's it. It's really like, we ask a very basic question, and it is it working? Yes or no? Not do we make $1 million? Not do we make $500,000? Not do we get 1 million visits? But is it working? Like, that's our first question we're asking. And what we do is intentionally stay away from boiling the ocean. But what about metric? But what about metric? But no, we don't care. Not today, we
Interesting.
don't. But did they get down to the bottom of the page? We know they don't. Like, but did they get down to the bottom of our page? We're not interested in that today. We're not talking about that today. So we break it down into 2 buckets. There's production and performance. What did we do? What did it do? If we haven't done anything, this is just a baseline. This never moves. It may go up or down, but it's not in our control. It's not because it reacted to something we did. It's because either a competitor got ragdolled in the search results because Google made a change. So either Google made it, or if we went lower, then someone did something better, ideally, right? Or Google made a change. Who knows? So what did we do? What did it do? So we're looking at, did we make technical changes? Yes or no? Did we produce content? Yes or no? Do we upgrade our website from the perspective of a title tag or a meta description to increase click-through? Or do we, if we have good content and we need a little bit more access, do we have interlinking to and fro? So that's what we're looking in terms of what did we do? What did it do? The KPIs that people typically talk about. We start with, did it get crawled? Did it get indexed? Yes or no? If it did, then great. If it didn't, then that's a problem. We're never going to get on the boards. We're never going to rank if it doesn't get crawled and indexed. So crawl, index. Do we get any impressions? Go to Search Console. Is it even getting impressions? And people are like, why are you so happy about seeing impressions? Well, when I see this go up, this is typically followed by the clicks going up, the visits going up. But there are no clicks or visits, not today. And so now we're talking about expectations, right? But you never get the click. You don't get the conversions without the visit. You don't get the visit without the ranking. You don't get the ranking without the impressions. You don't get the impressions, right? And so here's the waterfall of metrics. And there's 5 that we really care about.
I was right there with a lot of small business owners where I'm like, what? I don't really care about impressions, right? But you know, you don't get seen. How is someone going to click, right? So that makes total sense to me. Well, we're almost coming up on time here, believe it or not. It's been a really enjoyable conversation, but we have a couple more questions I'd love to hit you with.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I think this one might actually achieve both. If you were, and you do, consulting a small business, I'm not sure if you'd want to frame this from like they've never tackled SEO or they have invested in it, but what is like one strategy you've taken from your enterprise work and been able to successfully deploy it on a small business budget?
I would go, so my brain is always going operational, tactical, operational, tactical. So from an operational perspective, clear roles and responsibilities, who's doing what and how they do it. If you don't have that, that performance or the production is gone, right? In
Like
that,
you said, you're going to help them today, and then they're going to call you again in a year from now, being like, I don't understand why isn't this working anymore?
that's it. Yeah. From a tactical perspective, use the tools. None of them are accurate. They're all making guesses. But directionally, if we do it enough, um, and also monitor the health of our website, we can say this works 80% of the time. We're going to swag it. So those metrics that are wrong in those third parties are sort of the best we have to work with, until we get our own metrics, and then we have our own house metrics. But until then, we're looking at those third parties. We're looking at low volume keywords. As long as they're relevant for what we're looking to build, and the keyword difficulty, again, grain of salt, but that's sort of your starting point. Also, people go, but Nick, I don't understand. Why do you want to write a 1,000-page word article about a keyword that gets 0 searches? Well, because one, it doesn't get 0 searches. In order to even get on the boards, it has to get at least 1, right? Like,
People need to hear that more often. It's such at least for me, we all want to see the conversions, the sales. So we're like, we got to shoot for these high, but they don't understand just how massive of a budget they're going against when they go for the high volume. So there's something in our industry called long tail. And so if you're newer to SEO, long tail, it's not long shot. It's literally like, these are the things that are less competitive, which, like anything in life, you probably don't want to go up against the pros in your first attempt at something.
right.
You want to start here and work your way up this wedge. And if you achieve success, that could be a more reasonable way.
Totally. You don't go buy boxing gloves and go, where's Tyson? You,
Whereas
you don't
I'm
you
ready.
don't do that. Yeah. You start with a YouTube video going, how do I
Come
actually
find
put
me.
this thing? Right. You want to understand how you put the gloves even on, right? So if we're talking about SEO, what we're not talking about is, we're not talking about winning the lottery. That's not happening. If when you work on it well over time, at some point it feels like you're winning the lottery, because you can go on vacation and you can still make a ton of money. And so that's where the real beauty of SEO is. But you're building a brand, you're building traffic along the way. And the starting point of that is very modest keywords, the long tail keywords that you talk about. They get possibly 0 clicks a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Nick, thanks so much for your time. I would encourage people, and you and I started this before we started recording, talking about we should talk more. And honestly, for Jolly SEO, our own SEO, we're like a classic cobbler. Our own SEO, we could always do better. So I'd love to talk more even for ourselves. So people listening should find you at opticsin.com. Is that correct?
That's it. Yep.
Awesome.
Opticsin.com.
Hey, well, we love to end this podcast. I'm curious what you think about this. If you had access to some magic genie out of a bottle here, you could change anything in the SEO game, what would you change?
That's a really good question. I would really love to see that EAT was taken seriously, and I don't think it is. It's more of a aspirational framework that has dotted lines to ranking factors than it is more something that you could really hunker down into, go to a website and go, the reason why it's ranking is EAT. I don't think it's, I think it's talked about way more than it's actually real. And I would like to be more real than it's talked about.
It would be awesome. I mean, we're in an environment where consumers can't trust even the largest media institutions. And that doesn't mean they're not getting the traffic. All these sites are getting the traffic, but it's a scary world where, you can, if you're not as informed as yourself, you as a consumer can wind up anywhere and read anything.
I mean, you and I could pick up, I would imagine, could pick up the phone today, get on someone's website tomorrow for a brand that's good, bad, indifferent, but that website that it's on would be a household name. And if we were to say it right now, people would go, really? They take content? You can pay someone to get your content on there? Yeah, you can. Yeah. Give me $5,000 or $10,000, depending on the site. I'll get you on that website. Yeah.
That's right. We focus on white hat only here at Jolly, and even so, we released a little freebie tool called Linktegrity on our site. You don't need, it's not like a lead gen tactic. You can just use it for free, no email. But even so, sites we end up on, our clients end up on, we're constantly refining our own outreach because we're like, damn, another one that like we found out does take money, and we're not trying to associate with those, but it's that's the reality of the media.
That's the game sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Well, awesome chatting with you. I really appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to following up.
Same. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much.